Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MuseCast episode 63. We are climbing the ladder every week or two. And this time we have on a special guest with us. We have Mr. Kyle Aligood.
Hey, what up?
Hey, Kyle.
Hi.
Finally another guy that wears glasses with reflections in his eyes, too.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. When I was doing some of my projects in school, they were like, can you take your glasses off when you're filming these things? And I was like, I mean, I can, but I kind of get a 1,000-yard stare kind of going because I can't focus on anything. So I'm like, you know, I look horribly unfocused.
I get a lot of this when I don't have my glasses on, like I'm really speculative of what I'm looking at.
See, you're
really just trying to focus.
Just because I can't see it.
Dude, your non-glasses face looks like at least like engaged though. Mine looks like I just took like a huge dose of lithium or something. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I'm here with you physically, but mentally I'm far away.
Hey, Kyle, we were wrong. Put the glasses back on, please.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're creeping the entire audience out. Do you know what I mean? Even the ones who can't see you are pretty fucking scared right now. So
I feel really fortunate I have not needed glasses yet. And I don't know if it's because I do film with cameras all the time and have to pull focus and it's keeping my eyes strong because I'm constantly, testing them. Or...
Right.
If I'm just genetically okay and I'm actually shortening the span of my eyes by using them way too hard and straining all the time by focusing, I don't know which way it goes.
I think they disprove most of those wise tales.
The
like
straining is bullshit, right? Because any other muscle in your body, if you work it, you keep it. When you don't use it, you lose it.
That's exactly right. Right. I've gone through periods since I've wore glasses since I was a kid, since I was like 12. Okay. And I had periods where like I would break them or whatever, lose them or whatever when I was young. And so then I'm nearsighted, so I can see pretty much okay. Everything in this room I can see with my glasses off. But not wearing glasses for a few months at a time, my eyes would strengthen up and it would be sharp. But then when I would get new glasses, I'd wear glasses all the time. And now that I do wear them all the time, I take them off. My eyes are weaker and I see less well because I'm not. It's almost like you said. It's like I'm kind of like a muscle.
Right.
Maybe it's a placebo effect because I'm just not used to it. But you do become adapt.
Yeah. I kind of long for the day when I can get Lasik. I really want to get Lasik, but
do you?
There's also like
I don't blame you, but so I can't fathom the concept of that surgery.
My mom got the Lasik.
No way. How did she did it work really great and she dug it and everything?
This is a really cool story, and I don't get to talk about my mom too much on here, but my mother, she's not, I can't call her old because she's not old. She'll slap me.
Right.
But she was dead. She was born a long time ago.
I'm gonna slap your face when I see you next, man.
But so she had the surgery very recently, within the last, I want to say 5 years. And she said that when she came out of it, it was like a whole new world. It was like the Disney song in Aladdin. Because she said the colors were back. She had no idea just how much of the color tone she had lost because it was a gradual thing.
Right.
So it was such a dramatic change when she came out of that surgery that she said, Richard, the colors were back. The greens are greener. It was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Wow. The world was beautiful again. And her outlook on life was so much different. Because she was, yeah, you know what I mean? Her experience of the world was improved so much.
Right.
And she was like, her genes are the reason why I've wore glasses since I was a kid. I think her vision, you know how you got 20/20, and then, like my vision's kind of bad. I have like 20/50 or whatever, 20/60, two different things in each eye. She was like 22/20, 22/50, or in that range, I want to say.
Right.
Yeah. So she would have to combine contacts and thick Coke bottle glasses together to correct her vision well enough to see like good. But after the surgery, she said it's amazing. She wished she would have done it 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah, that I get what you mean, Ash, about like the concept freaking you out. But like the actual like we're gonna shoot a fucking laser in your eye. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
don't they peel back part of your eye?
I don't know. I don't want to know at this point. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, well then I won't ruin it for you. But to me, I can't touch an eye. I have trouble. I love looking at somebody in the eyes, but when it comes to the actual muscular integrity of the eye, like I can't touch an eyeball. There's something about it that just like it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Right.
So the idea of doing what I've heard they do, which I would get it done if I was you should get it done.
Yeah.
I just am like, oh my God, because you have to stay awake for it and you have to have your eyes open.
Yeah, you have to stare into the laser. The laser. Yeah.
Well, look into the lasers.
My thing is that like at this point, I've worn these glasses and these style of glasses for so long that it's okay. So there's this story. You guys may or may not know that I'm kind of like a freak about Bob Ross. Like I just love his entire ethos and outlook on art.
Oh my God.
I didn't know that so much sense. But I love that. I love that. Big Bob Ross fan.
I just love, like in my car, I have a Bob Ross air freshener of him just like smiling, getting ready to paint with the 2-inch brush. And it's nice. You know what I mean? Like it's, but
you have some Bob Ross in you.
Yeah.
You do.
I think there's like a quirkiness about him that I dig. And part of what happened was, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know how true this is, so I may be spreading misinformation, but it's cool misinformation.
Bring it on. Let's just keep it going.
Let's do it. But apparently when he was on the road kind of like building the brand, he discovered that it was cheaper to just get his hair permed, right?
Okay.
So that he wouldn't have to wash it like every day. And then before you know it, that was like his thing. Like everyone knew him as the dude with the fro, you know? So even when he had the option to not have an afro anymore, he had to have one. It was like,
absolutely,
that's his thing now, right?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't recognize Bob Ross without it.
Well, sometimes on the show, he'll bring out his son, Steve, you know, and Steve has like very just straight, just looks like where did the genetics for the afro come from exactly? But no, it's so he kind of got locked into that, and the thing that I fear about, like, even if I got LASIK, is that I look so different without glasses at this point that it's kind of like I need to do it now or like never, you know what I mean?
It's like, now or never.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's like, you know, nobody. I mean, I'm still just a like, you know, recording people in Tallahassee. It's not like I've got this big giant footprint everywhere, right. So it's like I got to commit now or later. Because
if you do that and you cut your hair, nobody will know. I mean, you could just disappear.
No, I turn into
witness protection program.
Exactly. I cut my hair once, and somebody I was in a band with was like, "Dude, you look like Chad from Accounting now." Do you know what I mean? Like, like it's like a real shapeshifter thing, because that's a different human being. A lot of my clients that know me like this, they've seen old pictures of me, and they're like, comment like, "Who the fuck is this? Like, what is this? Who is this the person that has been recording our band this whole time?" Because
you've literally only cut it short once.
Who's this Poindexter?
Exactly. Yeah, dude. Like, I didn't know he could like lead me to the light as far as write-offs, but cool, you know. No, I've cut it. I've gone through like multiple. Like I've gone from this length to completely bald one time. I did that when I was like...
That's fun.
It was fun.
That's fun.
It was the breeze was interesting. Yeah. Now what I didn't know is, and this will be great information for your podcast, is I have a crazy skin tag on the back of my head that we didn't know about until we went to like cut it all off, and then so that was fun. That was a surprise.
Don't worry, the older you get, the bigger it'll get. That's how those work.
dude, I'm not okay. So like I was talking to Charlie and Maurice Mangum, because we were here working at the studio today. And Charlie, you guys, well, Ash, you know Charlie Robert Stick. I don't know if you know Charlie, but he owns Gasoline Alley.
Okay.
And I was telling him, I'm like, look, I know that I'm not old, but I feel like I'm beginning to like blossom into middle age. Do you know what I mean? Like things are starting to happen. And the biggest thing that's starting to happen is that like people younger than me are beginning to use like slang that I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Which is fine. I knew that was going to happen. What I didn't know was going to happen is that like I would be afraid to be like, hey, what that mean? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about?
It's not like that when they're your kids.
Okay, so it's different.
Yes, it is different.
Is it like you have like an agent, like your own sleeper cell agent out there that comes back and tells you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Amber really likes diving into the language and the lingo of the kids. And I really like leaning into the crotchety old man. What the hell are you talking about?
Right. Back in my day, we called things fire, okay?
Drip. What do you mean drip? What do you mean drip? The sink's fine.
Oh, dude. The one that got me is it was, do you guys know Sevi Barano? He played drums with Tragic for a little while he was here.
They had two drummers. Is he the guy with the shorter hair?
Shorter hair, and he was like a crazy technical drummer.
Yeah,
I mean, like he would play insane shit.
I've met him at a couple of their shows. They have a younger kid that I think he's from Jacksonville, the longer haired guy. Yeah, he's their regular drummer, and I'm a terrible person. I don't remember his name. Yeah. But good kid. But the other guy I know who you're talking about, Barano, is the short haired guy. He's played a few shows. Super nice guy. Great.
Yeah,
drummer.
Dude. I love Sevi. He was having he was helping me out here at the studio. He was my assistant for about a year and a half or something like that. Oh wow. And cool. Dude, I fucking love that guy. I hate he moved. He moved to Nashville. And luckily I had someone else kind of like that had just messaged me a week before that was like, hey, do you need any help? Blah, 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 blah. So like the timing couldn't have worked out any better. But
nice.
Sevi is in a band called, or was in a band down here called No Parts. And they're really cool, just collective. They kind of remind me of, not Ween, but what's the band where the lead singer's name is like Wayne, and they do a bunch of crazy stuff, like their concerts are crazy. He gets into a bubble and like walks out onto the crowd, like crowd.
Oh, Flaming Lips?
Flaming Lips, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of have like Flaming Lips energy. Okay. You know.
Okay. Nice.
It's kind of cool. But
I got into them this last year for the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you see him at Cascades Park?
No, I wasn't able to go. I had to work. It's like
the only reason I knew what you were talking about, because he did that. He did exactly what you described.
Yeah, we're like, oh, you're talking about yeah.
Cool. It was great.
So Sevi's band, No Parts, we were in here, and I usually like to do a song in a day. Like that's my whole thing. Is I want to like start in the, around 11 a.m. and then hopefully by midnight we're approaching close to the entire thing tracked, and it's doable, but it's like kind of balls to the wall the entire time.
You're saying how many musicians are we talking about? Like drums, bass, guitar,
this was
singing?
Drums, bass, guitars, 2 singers, a keyboard player, and a cellist, and bass. Wow, if I didn't throw that in already.
Yeah, so full setup.
Yeah, I mean we're booking it, and
you're like 2 hours an instrument.
Yeah.
And so you're usually I want to hear the rest. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good. You're good.
Are you usually doing a full song in a day versus? Do you handle it differently if it's an album and you do like all the parts for a certain musician and knock them out, or?
It kind of depends on like everyone's schedule, you know, because when we start getting into like EP album stuff, then we have to kind of approach it differently. Because usually it's people that are in college, so they're like, well, I got to go to class, but when I come back, I can, you know, do this guitar or whatever. So I really prefer doing a song in a day, and I like doing it that way because it keeps everyone like hyper focused, you know. Now, honestly, if I had my druthers, I would love to do, and I did this with the Brown Goose on their new song that just came out, I think, a couple of months ago. We did 4 days, like 4 full 8-hour days of tracking for just the one song. And that I really loved. It's unfortunately just incredibly expensive to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's not practical, but it's the fucking right way to do it. Right. Because you there's nothing gets scrimped on. You know what I mean? It's like every single note, it's like, was that the right thing? Did you play it well? Is it in time? Is it in tune? You know, you don't get that luxury when you do a song in a day. Right. But it is more economical, and it does at least keep everyone focused. Now, with no parts, what happened is we went way beyond, like we started at 11 a.m., and I think Sevy and I were here for 15 or 16 hours straight or something like that to get everything tracked and done, and we were just running off fumes and coffee by the end of the session. So, like, this is when the slang word happened that really fucked me up. They said, man, Kyle's really cracked at this. And I was like,
cracked?
What? What's cracked? Do you know what I mean?
Did you just insult me?
Right.
I'm not smoking crack.
That's kind of what. Well,
what do you mean, Dad?
I was tweaking on like a shit ton of coffee. Like that was so. What my my concern was that like I had gone into like nicotine or caffeine and
jittery
nicotine,
mode,
like jitter, just like shaking and you know, like moving the mouse with my mind and stuff. And so they kept saying it, and being the cool guy that I am, I wasn't like, "What are you guys talking about?" I was just like, yeah, cool, you know. But it ate at me for days after that, right? And because I was like, "What if it's bad? Did I freak him out? Oh shit! That's like the last thing I want to do, you know." Yeah. So I finally just like broke down and called Sevy. I was like, "Hey, dude, what does this fucking mean?" You know? And he told me, and it wasn't like a bad thing. It seemed like a good thing. But here's where the middle-aged dude thing comes in, is that I don't know if I believe him. You know what I mean? Okay. I think it might still be a bad thing. So,
well, how did you hear them say it? Was it under their breath, or they said it to you?
Well, see, that's the thing about like, okay, so where I am right now, I'm usually sort of over there, right? In between the two screens. And then to the right of me, there's the traditional couch on the back wall. Yeah. And
the viewing couch.
Yeah. So there's a bit of an etiquette thing. Like if you're on the couch, you don't generally, there it is.
Everybody's got the couch.
Yours is nice. I like your couch. This shit's
free
good.
from Facebook Marketplace.
I slept on that couch once.
Yeah.
So there's like an etiquette of like when you're in the couch or on the couch, unless you have something like to directly contribute to what's going on there, you kind of have to say, like, you're not like, "Hey, you're cracked at this. Hi, hey," you know what I mean?
Hey, recording guy. Hey,
recording dude.
You're pretty cracked at this, man.
Right? Yeah. So it was like, I believe him enough. You know what I mean? I believe him enough, but there's still enough doubt in me that I know that the whole blossoming into middle age thing is progressing rather nicely. That and, you know, some questionable moles and shit like that. So things are happening overall.
Dude, I tore my calf 2 months ago punching the heavy bag. I was like, what the fuck is this? Why did I tear my calf punching the heavy bag?
Did you say you thought Tristan threw a softball at you?
I swear I thought I had just gotten done text battling with Tristan, like fun. It was, you know, jovial. And then I swear I thought he had chucked a tennis ball at my leg. I heard a pop and I felt a thud. and it didn't like hurt. But then my leg, I turned around and he wasn't there, and I realized what happened because I've heard so many athletes talk about what happens when you tear it like that. And it could also be like a pop, because the pop scared me. I was like, oh my God, if I just pop my Achilles tendon, I'm absolutely screwed on every level because I'm a one-man band production company. I'm paying for a lot, like I cover the bills.
Yeah.
And if the ship goes down, the ship goes down, And so I was like, oh my God, it's the reason I unfortunately still haven't. Well, time is also an issue, but I'd love to do jiu-jitsu. And I just I'm so paranoid that with my back issues, I would get an injury.
Right.
And
right.
I hate having to think that way. But you know what? I mean, health insurance sucks. And medical bills suck. And it's and I've gone through the medical system before for some other injuries. And it's just, I didn't even go to the doctor for this one. I literally I did all my research. I know enough about it. I diagnosed, it was definitely an accurate assessment.
Right.
Went through all the motions of healing. And now I'm hitting the bag again. I'm still not kicking with that leg. I'm kicking with the other leg.
Yeah.
Mobility's come back. I'm crawling. But my point being, I don't think that would have happened to me a few years ago. I mean, I think there is a level of age that's contribute to that,
Right. I can't deny being, or I can't, I can say, I know I'm not old, but that's about as far as it goes. You know what I mean?
Hey, there is no shame in it. You get on the mats and roll with other guys in mid 40s, about the same weight size, 170 pounds. And then you get a young kid that's about 25 years old, just strong, fast, and has an unlimited gas tank. I mean, there is a clear line in how different that is. Now, granted, it doesn't have to be extreme, but it's there. It's always there. It's just reality.
Yeah,
And Ash, if the right school, the mindset, I mean, going in with the right, I mean, just some random, how it is, some random gym, it's going to be a nightmare. But if you go to the right place where you can be upfront about, pre-existing conditions and stuff with the professor and that, all that go away.
The trick is getting paired up with a white belt and me not being able to control my desire to win if I see a moment to seize on. And then it's I feel like a dick if I'm like, hey, don't go too rough with me. I got a bad back. And I'm like, I can fucking take you.
Hey, no, I'll I don't know how many times you shake hands, say, yeah, man, I'm healing up. I tore my groin 3 weeks ago. Let's go easy. And then 30 seconds later.
You said you were going to go soft. Well, fuck you.
Yeah, dude. My groin was feeling pretty good. So
one accidental elbow in the chin, and it's on.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's a fun competitiveness, but if you feel like you're capable, it's just hard to gauge your own limits. I mean, it's hard for me to gauge my own limits by myself on a heavy bag. And I have to rein it back and just make sure that I've warmed up for 20 minutes now, not 5.
Yeah,
before I go full throttle.
You are intelligent enough that you would do it right. I mean, I've been doing it long enough now that I've seen people come and go, and there's the young people who are super athletic that come in and just go way too hard. Always trying to win. Where I'm beating training, I'm going to win training. I'm going to win training. Nobody beat me today. Nobody tapped me out today. And it's like, that's cool, man. You're not going to last very long at this gym. It's like we're all a team. We all know each other. We're friends, and we're training together. And the goal is to improve and not really murder each other. Yeah, but have a good time. And we look out for each other. Last night, our 2 head professors, Edgar Dutra and Diego Dini, were out, and it was my first time back in a week. I was out for a week. It was great night. We had a guy named Josh was the lead professor. He's a 2-stripe black belt law enforcement officer. Great guy, runs marathons. I love it when Josh heads a class because we're doing our warm-ups and it's Tool blasting, it's like,
oh, really?
It's the best. It's like Tool and Primus and like, it's metal bands in there. Nobody can hear each other talk. I'm like, oh, I love this. I love it when Josh is running the class. And I was rolling with a buddy of mine, Ben, and we're starting from like a disadvantaged position. We're starting each roll from like just a point. And we're rolling, and Josh comes up beside us and does the Cobra Kai thing. He's like, stands right, his feet is right by my head, and I'm like in guard, and Ben's standing, and Josh says, "There is no mercy in this dojo." Nice. I'm like, yes, sensei. Super fun.
Oh, it's good times, man. Yeah, I miss the camaraderie of class with people. Kyle, even. So I get locked away in my studio just editing, but I'm truly by myself. When you're locked away in the studio, you're still, a lot of times, you're recording people. So you got the influx of personalities coming in, which is...
Yeah, it's good, but it's not always. Like, I'm trying to limit the amount of time that I spend by myself in a somewhat darkened room, just like clicking away on a key. Because that's not the... look, it's rewarding up to a point. But this whole thing is like a like even when I'm producing people, we're still like a big team, So I try to get people to just like come sit with me while we mix. You know what I mean? Like from the ground up. Yeah. Part of it is because it's more fun for me that way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there's somebody there with me the entire time, it's like, hey, let's go get a cup of coffee. Let's go step outside for a second,
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you in reality a little bit, keeps from getting kind of, I know that 4 or 5 hours in by yourself, starting to get loopy feeling. It's not.
I'm 3 months into that right now. I just finished today.
So, the only unfortunate thing is, though, is you have to be like a very specific... You have to have like very specific minded people to like want to do that. Because what most people want, and it still works great, and I still prefer to do it this way, is they like for me to get it up to like a mix 1. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like you do the sort of like alone in the dark stuff to get all the boring drum samples and editing done and do all that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd edit in front of people. I still do that on my own because that's pretty fucking boring.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand.
But yeah, most people just want to come in at mix 1, which I'm okay with. Mm-hmm. But I prefer it when they're from like none of the faders are up, and it's like, all right, let's bring the kick drum up and start working on that. I like that. It feels, and I think I would like that if I was coming in to, somebody was producing me or mixing me. Like I think I'd want to be in that, not for like a control thing, but just to have some sort of like ownership of the product. Like it's like I was there when, that hi-hat track got mixed in or whatever.
Yeah.
And it also decreases iteration time. That's the huge thing.
Yeah. It helps get everybody on the same page, so you don't spend, a 4 or 5 hour night in the dark mixing, and then client comes in the next day and you're just not on the same page.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's been look, I've had like, I've never had anybody that just was like, we were on totally different pages. Luckily, you know what I mean. Like I usually when a band comes in, I have at least one pre-production meeting with them here. Because I want them to see the space, and I want them to be able to like visualize, like, oh, that's where I'd put my guitar amp. Like they see themselves in the space creating this music. It kind of creates this like excited, oh my God, this is happening. I'm looking. I can't wait to go back there and do that. You
already get some chemistry going together. Just communication wise, you come in, you're going to flow a lot quicker.
Yeah. And the second most important thing is at that point we start talking about like, well, what are you guys trying to go for? Like, what's the vibe you're going for? What kind of sounds are you looking to get? Who's your favorite artist right now that you're like loving the way their record sounds and stuff like that? And so then in preparation for those sessions, I just make Spotify playlists of like all this stuff, you know, to kind of like get myself geared up for this next project that's coming in. Because like there's a certain function of being a producer that is like time management and keeping us on track and being able to get a song done in a day. But I think the bigger, more important thing is like taking these somewhat disparate influences. Because I've had some bands that they were like, well, I love the drums from Evil Empire, but I really like the guitar tone from like a Tool record or something like that. And it's like the Tool drum sound was kind of made to go with so it's like looping all that in together and finding where's the sound, how do all these sounds work together. And you know, just being part of the team, which goes back to the chemistry thing, like you were saying about how that has to start pretty early in the process, because you know, there's trust and there's making a record, and it's very difficult to do sometimes. Like there's a lot of like everybody's got emotion tied up in it as well, and I never want
personality types. You can have clashes of ideas, clashes of direction.
Yeah. So it's I like to try and loop. I want to make everybody that's participating in this record feel like they contributed. Like I want them to contribute, but more importantly, I want them to feel like they have ownership in it. Like we're making like evergreen stuff, and we're making stuff that's competing against every other piece of music that's ever been released ever. You know, we're not just us versus our peers anymore. It's us versus the fucking Beatles, you know?
It's trying to get it out there. And you help with that too, right? I mean, you're a soundboard for when people come to you and they're recording with you. I mean, you get to see how all these bands try to launch their stuff into the ecosystem online, and you kind of can tell people, you know, stories of what people have done that's mildly successful and great successful, and also set realistic expectations, because it's so, I mean, it's
saturated. It's so saturated.
It's hard to cut through, and it's real important to bring people into the headspace of, look, you know, because I feel this way when I make music videos with bands. You know, they have stars in their eyes about, and hey, you never know, it could.
Right.
But at the end of the day, one thing I can guarantee is that everyone that participates in this will never regret having made this.
Sure, yes.
You will treasure this, that we made this for the rest of your life, regardless of the band ending or anything. You're going to be so happy that you put the money down, we put the time and effort into making this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I feel that way about everything I did in Kill Clouseau, you know, and we haven't done anything in over a decade. And I'm so glad that we did that, because if we hadn't, that's the biggest crime of all. That would be really sad.
And not releasing it, doing it and not releasing it is the travesty. After we get done with this podcast, when we get done with this podcast tonight, what's on my agenda, because I'm leaving town tomorrow, is I'm uploading the Fighting Giants sophomore EP. We actually recorded with Brett like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we never released it. We released a single off of it, and then we had, you know, issues with not issues with our members, but Dave went through a very life altering, you know, event in his life and moved to Texas for a year and a day.
Right.
But we're going to release it. We talked it last night, you know, just as a team, like, man, just we're putting it out there in the world.
There's some killer stuff on there, man.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah. So
you guys touched some different soundscapes that were nowhere on the other album.
Yeah. And that's the super fun part. And I wanted to ask Kyle back in the conversation back up to, you know, what tone are you going for? What kind of vibe are you going for? Like what I do sometimes, what I did with my personal material, the Dave Last Night stuff, is I actually queued up a song in the session. I queued up a Snot song from their album, because that vibe was exactly what we were going for as a group, was that raw drums, you know, nothing polished, just as, you know, raw and rock and roll as we could get, gritty and and that Snot album just had that tone. Do you ever do that? Do you ever like kind of pull up a reference track in a mix?
Well, not exactly like that, but I like that. I'm probably going to steal that. Thank you.
It was super, super helpful. Happy to share.
Yeah. No, what I do generally is I have like as we're going. Oh, okay. So eventually the song has to become its own thing. You know what I mean? Like it has to become its own thing. And so there's a certain element of like, all right, let's set goals that we're trying to like shoot for, you know? Let's say we want to shoot for this kind of guitar tone, this kind of drum tone, this whatever, right? But at a certain point, which is one of the things I love about doing this, is that like you'll just pull a guitar up or change some small thing, and then all of a sudden you'll go like, oh God, this is kind of like starting to sound like a mix all of a sudden. And it becomes like its own thing, you know? So what I do with reference mixes is I have, you're in Pro Tools, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So I've got a K-Mix template, which has like this track that has 20 or 30 reference mixes in it across kind of like multiple genres, and that gets imported into every mix session I do. And what I kind of do is like every 30 minutes or so, I'll go solo that reference mix track and then just start like paging through the playlists just to kind of give myself like what is reality again, because you kind of get like nose blind or ear blind, I guess, to like what you're doing.
Same thing with Videoland. You'll think you've got a color grade, and then you just see something normal, and you go back to your thing, and you're like, whoa, all this is green cast.
Right.
The exposure's way low, and what the hell am I doing the last 30 shots?
Yeah.
Is you get used to it. You get locked into that phase right there.
It's just inevitable. It's impossible to not do that. You have to. I'm big on referencing, taking a break and referencing out. So great, keep going, man. This is great that you're.
But so that's mostly how I use reference mixes. But again, the mix has to become like its own thing at some point. And I've gotten into trouble in the past if I've relied too hard on a reference mix, because I think they're really good for like giving perspective, and then you can immediately jump back into what you're doing and go like, oh shit, this is way darker than I thought, or those guitars are not nearly loud enough as compared to XYZ, this reference mix, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's the perspective is what's really helpful for me. But I've tried, like, I had a hard time using reference mixes for a long time. Like I really, really fought it because I was using them in a way that didn't really work for me. I was doing like this, like, well, their snare sounds a little brighter than mine.
You're trying to match it versus
make my snare.
Yeah,
exactly. And
kind of becomes that you don't want the direct copy. You know, you still want it to have its own identity.
Yeah. So that helped. Once I stopped. It's actually this guy named Jordan Valeriot, a YouTube guy who I love. I love all his mixed stuff.
Does he have black hair? Like black?
Yeah.
Is he British?
This guy's Canadian. This guy's
maybe he
Canadian.
Is Canadian.
Oh, you're talking about Warren Hewart. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Hope you're having a marvelous day. That fucker. Yeah. I love that guy.
Yeah, I like his stuff too.
But the Jordan Valeriot, he runs Hardcore Music Studio, and he's kind of done the typical YouTuber thing where, you know, I think he did a bunch of Silverstein records, like some of the bigger Silverstein records, and he's kind of turned that into like an educational thing where he has like, you know, teaches you how to mix and all that stuff. But out of all the guys on YouTube that do that,
I know who this guy is. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's where I got the reference mix ideas from. He's the guy that'll take, and I don't mean to cut you off. He'll take he'll bring up a master track. He'll have people send in masters, and he'll take their master, and then he will adjust it. And he doesn't use the same master EQ that I do. I use the Fab Filter Q3. He uses a different visual master EQ, but his tips are superb. I learned so much from that guy.
Yeah, he's the dude that, like, I feel like even though he's selling stuff, like the information that he gives isn't like clickbaity. Like, I mean, some of his headlines can be a little clickbaity, but once you get in it, it's like actual useful, practical
tips. Dude,
that
it has to be that way. That's the only the people that have the sustain on these YouTube channels where they're giving away all that free information. It has to be good shit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they don't sustain it. They are giving away tons of great stuff. There's just something about it when they actually sell a course in some way, it's like it's all put together for you, so you don't have to ping pong between stuff. It's like a walkthrough of a whole experience, and I think that's the difference, you know. But you have to give away really valuable. This is something I've kept as a forefront piece in my mind when I'm making my videos about teaching with video work or running your own video business. It's like, give them real fucking information. Do not hold back on it, because they're not going to be interested in your full course, of which I don't have yet. But at some point, I would love to have a full course that goes into detail. And I'd be able to talk at liberty about a few things that don't want to say publicly, to the masses, about the intricacies of working with clients and things. It can be more private, and that's cool too.
It's full circle. It's Bob Ross again. Okay. Check this out.
I try to be.
It's so Bob had the Joy of Painting, like 20-minute little, PBS, whatever, how it is, paint along with me. And this dude's fucking hauling ass. Like, I cannot keep up with you, period. But I found on Marquetta, my wife, has been really getting into like painting this year. She's got a shit ton of canvases, and she's like painted, the Gasoline Alley thing is like the logo is a gas pump. So she did a Starry Night version of the Gasoline Alley gas pump thing. It's really super cool.
Super cool.
So Bob Ross's whole thing was wet on wet, and you have to like take the canvas and then apply this specific kind of paint in a thin, even coat. That's his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And on our TV in the living room, we have one of those Samsung TVs that has like preloaded, shit ton of channels, and they have the Bob Ross channel. So of course our TV lives on that. But I was having like this horrible insomnia a couple of months ago. So I would like stay up till 4 a.m. just like on the couch watching Bob fucking go for it for hours on end, and I swear to God, he never shows the part where he does that little wet on wet. He never shows that in the video, because it's like it takes him 30 seconds, but it's like the whole key to all that shit working.
Oh.
And one night,
that's a shame.
Yeah. So one night, 4:30, so I kind of woke up and Bob was fucking doing it. He's like, I'm going to show you guys something I don't usually do. And then I did it. Yeah. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it. I was telling Marquetta about it, and she didn't she kind of didn't believe me. I think she kind of didn't believe me. But the other day I came across an hour-long Bob Ross. It's like a joy, but it's an hour long, and he goes into that great depth and detail, and you're reminding me of it. Like all the information that he gave on the show was super useful, and you could learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't great at it, I wouldn't be so fucking psyched that it's like, oh my God, he paints for an hour? Hell yeah, I'm going to watch that.
Right,
like I may never paint in my life, but I'm going to watch this happen, because clearly this man knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And there's
effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like just from nothing to something in a blink of an eye, with like just, and I can't say no effort, because he definitely has effort,
right?
But it's just magical.
He makes it look effortless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how I feel about. I mean, look, there's been a ton of people on. I mean, Dick, I'm sure that your YouTube is full of like 5 tips to a better snare drum sound today, and all that shit, right? Because mine is. And I one thing I still do is I still watch like basic stuff, because I find like I'm always going to learn something, even if what I learned is that I just wasted my time. Like I still, like I've still learned, but more often than not, there's some new thing that either gets sparked in me, or that I've not considered doing before that I learned.
I totally identify with that.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with the video stuff in particular, and this actually brings up a question that I have for you. So for me, you know, I'm self-taught, right? With all this video stuff, it has just been a lot of self-taught stuff. And the first 10, 12 years that I was doing it, the YouTube lesson program wasn't really available like it is now. And so then I start to realize over the last like 6, 7 years how much that library has grown, and it's become this enormous resource for me. And so I watch the basics because I don't even know what the actual flow would normally be. You know, I invented a process on how to handle different types of projects. And it is a formula initially, and then when it comes to mixing, it's a free for all, and you get to do. That's where the inventive part comes in.
Right.
Like you talked about the edits. That's kind of the board. You got to get this done.
Yeah.
I had to teach all myself that, and I still don't know. Well, it's been actually really interesting to see how much of it aligns with standard issue practices versus out of left field approaches, and it's a real mix that I'm seeing happen. But in watching the basics, that's where I get to identify that. Like, oh wow, that's crazy. Like I really did just figure out like the way that you would be taught to do it on my own.
Right.
Interesting how I landed there. And other times I'm like, that's an interesting approach. And I'll learn stuff and I'll blend it in, but I do realize how out of left field certain things are. My question for you is like, you did graduate from SAIL, right? Full SAIL?
Yeah.
And now you're still also using even YouTube as a resource to continue your learning. What's that like for you as far as like what you learned in school and then how much is available now? Because even when you did Full SAIL, the library on YouTube isn't what it is now.
Right.
And I totally get the different, why that's what I kind of want to hear about actually, is like how valuable it was to be immersed in it in a class and all that.
Man, I think it was super valuable, and but not for the reasons that you might think. You touched on some of it. It gave me a workflow, like a very standardized practice workflow, and their whole thing wasn't necessarily do it this way, do it in this order, do this, do that. They gave us the information in, look, this is a way that you can do it. We want you to do our prescribed way this time, but just be aware that we're not expecting you to like, it doesn't have to be like this all the time. You just need to have a system, like a prescribed system that you follow and works for you, and you do the same things every time.
Yep.
Because where I was is that like I was like, you know, YouTube Academy for years, because I started using Pro Tools when I was like 20 or something like that, and I'm 35 or 6 now. My wife's asleep, so
we're another age now. We're all another age now.
I won't know how old I am until the morning, but you know, I'll text you. Anyway, so I had all this. I think
that's the age I forgot my age too. I'm past you. I'm 42.
Yeah.
So, but I forgot that year, and then this last year I had already thought I was already 42 and was turning 43, but I just turned 42.
That's it. I thought that this year was 35, but it was 30. Yeah, I'm lost. I don't. There's just nothing to look forward to anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'm able to.
Sure, there is.
Well, I mean,
no. As far as like age, you're not going to get
yeah.
any new opportunities because of the age.
You're
Right.
not
You
pumped
get less.
about your birthdays. Just another one with a zero is coming, and that sucks.
Oh, dude, I want to tell you guys about the greatest gift that I gave myself, which was I don't have my birthday on Facebook anymore.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking I'm actually going to change it to like 2 days after my actual birthday.
Yeah.
So that like on my actual birthday, it's just me hanging out, doing whatever I want to do on my actual birthday. And then 2 days later, everyone else can be like, oh, happy birthday, you know, and I can tell them thank you.
Oh, thanks.
You know, anyway, so I was totally YouTube Academy for that, 10-year period or whatever. And I felt like I had learned a lot, and I recorded a couple of bands. I did my old band's very first record, and I did a couple of my other buddies' records and stuff. But I felt like I had gotten all of this information piecemeal, and it was not like condensed or organized in any kind of like sustainable system, you know?
Yeah.
And so the main reason that I wanted to go to school wasn't really so I could learn Pro Tools, because I knew Pro Tools, but it was more like I need the workflow, and I basically need to like fill in the gaps. I need to take all this like somewhat disparate information that I've like tried to cram in and organize that all into like, okay, that's when you do this. Oh, that's when, okay, got it, right? And that's the biggest thing that changed for me with my projects pre-Full Sail and the stuff I work on post-Full Sail was that like I got a tremendous confidence boost in my own ability to not just record, but like consistently deliver a good product that
the consistency is the thing that people, I don't think, when you're first getting into it, you don't realize. It's easy to get an inflated head if you hit something out of the park with something, and it's like, you may not realize that that's a fluke. Like, not a fluke, but it's just like half the album's great, half the album's kind of mediocre, and it's like, obviously, you can skip all the painstaking failures, or a lot of them, by getting to jump into the saddle and learning from people that have already done that for you,
right?
And then start working from there. My situation was, I guess, also too. You know, I'm 42, so just even that additional 6 or 7 years past your age, that's a massive difference in what was available on YouTube. So me getting started earlier when I was 20, I basically set myself up in these situations where I took on, I hard pitched a project, got a big, what was at the time a big check, more than I could make doing anything else. I was like, holy shit. And then I'd realize, big money, I don't know how to do this. I mean, I sold the idea, I know it could work, but how do I do this? I remember coming back with my first batch of footage from Trans Am, filming a documentary. I'd gone from making a single 5-minute video or 4-minute video for them that was just images with music, and then I pitched them on making a mini documentary, because I kept seeing all these docs. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do storytelling. I came back with my first couple of days of footage, and I was like, I have no idea where to start with this. I don't even know, like, I freaked out. I got so nervous and scared, but I had to do it. I had to do it. I needed the money. I take on the stagehand work. I'm like, I got to pay my bills. I like have to figure this out. And so just throwing myself into and then I just kept doing that. And it was all these impossible situations. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just kept failing. And what happened was I spent way more time than I was getting paid for.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I learned so much.
That's where you'll find innovation out of necessity, right?
Right.
Yeah. And there's magic in those moments. I was just talking about this at work today with when you put yourself in a situation, say you're nervous to start something that you've never done, you know, whatever that may be, whether it's a job or it's a project or your passion or whatever, you know, you're never going to be ready, like completely ready. If you've never done it before, it doesn't matter. You're never going to be ready.
Right.
Yeah. And my whole life philosophy mentality is just jump in, just jump right in. Don't even think about it. Just start. Cause that a lot of times is the hardest part. And once you get you'll find a flow. And the more you do that, and the more different avenues that you take that jump into, you'll find yourself more able to adapt to new situations differently and find solutions to problems that you never would have thought you would approach before.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, as I've gotten older, like I feel like I'm who's the guy that pushes the rock up the hill? But it always like rolls back on him.
Oh man, it's not. I wanted to say syphilis.
Syphilis, yes, that great Greek hero, syphilis. Yes,
we'll call him syphilis. Yeah.
Is
Syphilis.
it Sisyphus? Sisyphus, is that it? Okay.
Maybe I got you there. You can't tell me I didn't get you there.
That was beautiful. So
you're welcome.
You know, it's Sisyphus. Yeah.
Sisyphus.
Syphyphus. Syphilis is so close.
Almost really? So close.
So this what I feel like as I've gotten older and I've done more work and everything like that is that like I feel like Sisyphus trying to push the rock out of the Dunning-Kruger curve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I keep getting rolled over, and like it's like each new thing I learn or get better at, it just like it's like, oh fuck, I thought I was way further along than this.
Oh,
you
dude,
know?
that's so funny. That's your comment to that, because I started to talk and then I let you talk. What I was going to say is that I'll still every year there's a couple of things that I'll figure out or learn from somebody else's video and realize that I was doing something in such a roundabout way that I literally, if I add up all the time I spent doing it my way for the last year, I probably have worked an additional 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
And it was sometimes 3 weeks. I could have shaved off hours on every project.
Right.
And so it's really that's why it's worth revisiting the basics too, because there really are those basics. For you, it's the same thing, I'm sure. Like when it comes to the editing aspect of it, so much of it is prep. The mixing part goes faster, and then I feel like, I don't know if this is the same for you, Kyle, but it's like I'll get my layout, and then there's a whole process of polishing, and then I'm back into steps again.
Right.
But it's like all the editing prep, getting the footage, that's probably 65 to 70% of the editing time for me on a project.
Yeah.
And then it's probably 20% maybe on the layout, like the mixing.
Yep.
You know, where I figure out what my story is and put all, and then there's like another, 15, 20% that's just polish, and we're back to steps and procedures again.
Yeah.
And it's on the steps and procedures so you're talking about roughly 80% of a project being available for steps and procedures. And only 20, maybe 30% of it being the complete free-for-all of seeing where your brain will take it, working with your palate, trying out the different things and mixing. And, so if you can shave off time on those procedures, whether it be on the front or the back end, that's where you're saving weeks, and that's where you can get more profit and also more time back.
Yeah. It's the mixing part of what I do, like it really only takes 6 hours, like including revisions and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like the actual, once I get everything laid out, like, because I have, the way I do it is in Pro Tools, like my drums are always one color and they're always in one specific order, and they're always followed by the bass, which is one color, which is followed. You know what I mean? Like it's always the same thing.
Yep.
So like once all that's laid out and organized, and the editing's done and the tuning's done, whatever needed to be done, once I actually start pulling up faders, that part goes by so quick. And my whole goal is really what I've been focusing on this year specifically is like getting to automation as quickly as humanly possible. Because like for me, that's where the whole Magic Pro mix thing starts to happen, is when I'm literally...
And for people that don't know, automation is where you're actually assigning the volume shifts, right? And and are you also doing automation on EQ and effects as well for swelling in and swelling out, or are you keeping it just volume?
It's mostly volume, but there is some like EQ automation that goes, like particularly in the kick drum. Like a lot of times what I'll do is... like the amount of top end click on a kick drum is great for a verse. But then as soon as the chorus kicks in, it's like it needs more punch, but it doesn't necessarily need to be louder. Like it just needs to feel like it's louder. So you can kind of cheat that by like EQing the top of the kick drum up in the chorus,
Totally.
And then you got to automate that back down when you come back out of the verse or whatever.
Yeah.
Most of it is volume, though. Most of it is volume.
I do automation on all my videos as well, if they have dialogue, a combination of dialogue and music and sound effects layers. And that is really where, like, I think that's the biggest one of the bigger differences that I have in my projects is a lot of video guys don't necessarily do that. They do a really basic volume for beginners.
I would imagine a lot of video guys probably outsource like parts of that, right?
That can be a whole job unto itself, is doing the sound mixing. Yeah. But a lot of time it's just one of those things where, especially in this day and age, where you're expected to pull do so many jobs as one job, right? Like that your profit starts to get too dwindled when you start outsourcing, and unless the project's big enough to handle it, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, that's why I'm like responsible for every part of the edit. If I was to charge, that much more to outsource it, I would love to do that, but I'm already hitting caps of what they're willing to pay for, and I'm making the projects be available to do,
Right.
I'm really, in a lot of ways, I'm kind of stretching certain clients' budgets out grander than they would have envisioned spending on the projects, but it's because they didn't know that they could make the thing that that I'm capable of making them.
Right.
And once they started, and now I've got enough of a portfolio, they do. So they just see them like, well, to do that, it takes this. That's already the max of their budget, so I can't outsource it. But those moves, I'll do where I do the EQ aspects of the automation is on the music tracks whenever people talk.
Yeah, dipping like 4K out and whatever.
Yeah, I'm just going in and dipping out, and it's based on if it's a female or a male. Same thing, just like music, right? You got to figure out what frequencies spike in, and then and just that alone is a really big difference than just bringing down volume of the music and then boosting it back up, which is audio ducking that a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
But the EQ makes the biggest difference because you can keep the music punching, keep the energy there, and you can still hear the voice more clearly. So I'm kind of big on figuring out, even if it's mild, like little EQ, being sensitive to know that that's something you can do with your automation too, is just working the EQ a bit based on what's happening.
It's a rabbit hole, but the more time you can spend in that rabbit hole, I think the better the product turns out at the end. Like, I try to get things off the floor as finished as they possibly can be. You know what I mean? But there is an expectation, especially in modern music, of like, all right, the drums are going to be probably on the grid. You're probably going to be using samples. All that stuff takes time to like lay in, right?
Yep.
But I try so hard to get to the automating. It's like I would even say that like if like Desert Island, would you rather have like EQ or would you rather have like faders? I would take faders. Like I feel so much more confident in my ability to like make something great happen. Like
Totally get that.
If something's too bright, like turn it down. You know what I mean? Like that's like the quickest. I mean, that's what we do with vocals all the time, or like a guitar solo where a note's sticking out or whatever. Like you just go in and I love doing it by hand.
That's nice that you get to do that.
I had a control surface for a while, but I've kind of gotten used to the mouse now where I can kind of be somewhat sensitive. But there is nothing better than being able to automate two things at once. Like for me, it's ride and hi-hat. I love being able to do those. Instead of having to do two separate passes, I can just like go one down and be like, all right, hi-hat open. Okay, bam, bam, bam. It's fun. It feels like...
Do you... And we were already crossed an hour, so I'm going to make this the last question for tonight, and we're definitely we'll have you on again, absolutely. But I do have another question. So the on the automation aspect of it, are you doing a mild amount of compression like are you doing any compression? I understand that you're running everything through compressors and stuff on the actual recording, but in post, once you have it that far, are you also adding on any level of compression before you do automation of volume and then putting on more at the end, or are you only putting on some compression after you've done a pass of automation through the whole thing and then putting some more compression on at the end to even it out more?
So I do it kind of a little bit of both ways, right?
Okay.
So like each individual, like there's almost nothing that I'm not compressing a little bit in some way, like on the plugins, you know what I mean? And I usually get that set up before I start automating. But then I have everything in my mixes runs through. I don't know if you guys can actually see it. That lunch box that's like right
here. I can
pull the bag out. Yeah.
Yeah. That guy.
We'll get it back to the normal here.
That little film. I'm so sorry. I've made this way more complicated. You can even see it.
No, actually,
now.
we can even do full screen.
Okay. That it's an SSL bus compressor. This is good. I'm
a master at this. Don't worry.
Yeah. But it's an SSL bus compressor, right? And it's a very classic, like put it on your two bus and everything is going to go through it, right?
Yes.
So that gets put on pretty early in the mix. Like, it's basically as soon as I have the kick drum on and kind of relatively in the right spot, EQ wise and compression wise, then I put the SSL bus comp on. And what it kind of functions as is like when I'm automating into it, say that I really want to push like I don't know, like a bass drop or a vocal line or something like that. Like the SSL, if it's whatever's the loudest thing in the mix at any given moment, the SSL is going to kind of like smack that down. But it also at the same time kind of ducks everything else, right? Like if your vocal gets the best example of it is like a bass drop. Like when you really push a bass drop up, it's going to like slam that fucking bus compressor. And it gives it this impact and weight because it's like it gives the feeling that like this bass drop is so powerful that it like literally is taking over the mix for a second, right?
Yeah, it's like squeezing it to like when you're in an airplane and there's a sudden small leak and everything starts getting sucked out for a second and then it comes back.
Yeah. And so there is a little bit of like I kind of lean on that a little bit, especially for like if I want to make something particularly impactful. Like I want to push it too far, but I only push it too far knowing that that bus compressor is going to smack it back and kind of keep it in perspective. So it's kind of, yes, I'm doing compression on individual channels, but the automation that's getting driven into the compression is more of like a broadband thing and not on individual channels.
Okay.
I hope I answered.
Yeah, and that and just like the order of events, like automation. It is because I was wondering, as somebody that's not trained in audio, I find myself going back and forth. I can't find a consistent thing. I'll find that I like putting on a little. For me, almost everything, the compression's happening all in post because I've recorded it. It's an interview, and I just have like a recorder.
Yeah.
So I find myself putting on like a little bit of compression to get like a general hint of it, and then I'll do my audio moves of automation and on levels, and then I'll top it off with another passive compressor and a little limiter.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting
So it's like I'm kind of like
workflow.
edging it there. So I get myself a little closer. I get rid of some noise artifacts that might have been there.
Right.
And then I get in there and I detail by hand. I have to draw out all those keyframes.
Right.
And take off the edges of stuff.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I'm sorry. I answered your question totally wrong. I'm so sorry. Just like, I want to talk about the SSL. Show me the SSL.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to Gasoline Alley, you will be able to be recorded on the SSL.
Yeah, dude, I'll show it to you. I promise I will.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you right there, buddy. That's a bus compressor.
That's a bus compressor.
Ash, you're not recording a damn thing on that bus compressor.
I know. You know what it actually works great for is overheads. Like it's a great overhead compressor on the way in.
Nice.
It works pretty cool. But okay, so yes, I do that, but it's different in that. All right, you guys can actually see this. Do you see that little ha?
Nope.
Ha!
Nope.
Right down in the middle. There's those like blinking lights.
Oh, we're watching your levels back there.
That's your distressor. That's your distressor back there.
Distressor, right?
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, on the way in, almost like definitely bass, definitely vocals, sometimes guitars. Like I do that first kind of stage of compression, like you're talking about, where it's kind of like do no harm, sort of.
Yeah.
The distressor, you really got to push that fucking thing before it really messes something up. But it just generally takes the sort of crazy peaks off of this stuff. And that's before it even hits, tape or the hard drive or whatever.
Right. I think that's my missing link because I don't have that happening. When I'm out on the field filming,
right.
Yeah.
But you kind of end up doing that same workflow in that you've got that initial compression that's not really like super heavy handed, and you know it's not going to be like, this isn't going to be the final thing,
right?
But it's just something to start
touch.
getting you in the so it is that same workflow. It's just you know, mine's more on the front end, but I think the way you do it is smarter because like say you're doing an interview with somebody and there's a fucking water fountain or air condition or
all the time,
whatever, right? Yeah. Like if you got to go in with RX or spectral layers or whatever,
RX
get all that.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
Like if you record somebody's voice in with no compression, then that background noise is going to remain like at a constant level.
Yeah.
Which makes
any pause in the discussion, it's just going to be up there, right there, level set.
Yeah. So that's easy to then like get rid of with RX because it's like a predictable, repeatable thing that you can then get out. But if you compress on the way in, like that background level is going to change and it's going to make it harder to like clean the audio up later. So I think the way you're doing it is like exactly how you should do it.
You're pointing out a great point that I didn't think about because I just didn't have the tool to do it. I don't have a compressor on set, but that's a great point because, that would be a problem. And guys, if you do videos, what we're talking about is Isotope RX. I think they're at like 10 or 11 now. I'm on 9. But any of it, I mean, it's for video work, it's amazing. It does the best sound cleanup of anything I've tried, and it's the most intuitive. And it was a game changer for my quality.
It's got to be so practical because the Isotope's really good at those automated plugins, right? Where you set it and then instead of like applying it where you need it, you kind of level set it to what you want it to do, and then it'll capture all those bits throughout.
Yeah.
Dude, RX is my savior. Like I've used
is it for you too? It is.
Hell yeah,
awesome.
Dude,
yeah.
I like guitar amp buzz gone. Headphone, like some people will have their click track really loud in their headphones and it bleeds into their microphone. Yeah. Now it's a pain in the ass to do, but you can go in and like literally paint out each fucking click. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
you can see it. It's like a visual way of seeing where it's happening and painting it out. Yeah.
So
RX is a game changer.
I tried spectral layers. I think it technically might be a better algorithm.
Okay.
But I like the RX workflow so much better. And some of that might be like familiarity. You know what I mean? Like if I came up on spectral layers, I'm sure I'd be like, fuck RX, but
right, sure.
But no, RX is great. I mean, spectral denoise I use that all the time. Like sometimes we're in a hurry. Sometimes I had a band come in a couple of weeks ago and I was supposed to have the bass player for like 5 hours. And they were like, hey, I have to leave in 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
So there's there's like, get the session going, make sure that some level is coming in at whatever level. I don't really care what it sounds like. I just need to get it in,
Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes that leads to like noise that only spectral denoise like just knocks out quick. And it's pretty like hands-off audio quality wise. I use it all the time, dude.
Awesome. That's really, I use it every single project. I just got done doing it on this last project that I just wrapped up that I'm going to watch as soon as we end this podcast.
Yes.
I've made the exported file. I have not watched a 3-month-long edit. Just the editing part. Filmed it over the course of a year.
Oh, dude.
3-month edit. I haven't gotten to watch the final export of it. It's sitting in front of me on my computer. So
are you totally stoked? Like
psyched up?
I'm excited, but I'm also like nervous because now it's the point where you're going to turn it into the client. This will potentially be going up on Trans Am Worldwide's channel next week. I'll be sure to share it.
Yeah.
And these these are the view generating things I do. Like I make videos for all kinds of clients, but these are the ones that rack up. We'll see how many plays it gets, but. These always do a lot of plays, so it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when if there's a mistake, because I can spot there's a mistake in every one of them that I can, if I freeze frame and pause it, like, oh, there's a glitch and that mask is showing, or this, so it's and so many people watch it, it's kind of intimidating. But I'm excited to get it out there, and hopefully, as long as the client's happy, I'm happy, and that's what we'll find
That's
out.
right.
Rock.
This
Yes,
weekend.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. I hope it goes great, man. I hope
Thanks,
you enjoy
man.
it. You know.
Yeah. It's a 23-minute documentary again.
Oh, bro, you're gonna have
Hell
so
yeah.
much fun. Hell yeah.
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 So,
Cool,
but
well-
dude, it was great. Hey, before we get off, what is the process of people reaching out to you, setting up a recording session? If they're, how booked up are you? What's the schedule like?
Well, I mean, I stay pretty booked. I like the best thing to do is to reach out and Ash, I texted you our website, and I also texted you a link to a Spotify playlist of some of the stuff that I've produced.
We'll put that in the description.
I would thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the best way to get up with me is our website. It's gasolinealleytlh.com, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. This is, but I'm pretty sure that's it. But yeah, it's got you can message us directly on the website, or if you're more into the social media thing, we're on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. We've got links to our Instagram on the website because most of the communicating that I do is through Instagram.
Okay.
Right on.
And I mean, eventually, very quickly, it gets off of Instagram, and we just start texting each other as
Sure, I would
two
imagine
mutual.
so.
Yeah, it very quickly becomes that. But yeah, that's the easiest way, and
you record a wide variety of types of music there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd say the pillars of what our recording has been, rock and roll, metal, as kind of the one pillar. And then the other has been, Americana, more of what Maurice Mangum is doing, that sort of acoustic guitar thing. And then the third pillar, which I'm so grateful to have been able to record, is gospel music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Nice.
Tallahassee has the most insane gospel scene. People have flown here from Colorado to get
Wow.
Tallahassee gospel musicians on their record, because there's just
Cool.
I had no idea, but it's so much fun.
Cool, man.
And they're all killer musicians. So we do that,
Yeah.
and I'm working with a professor of ethnomusicology at FSU named Patty League, and Patty has the most eclectic music and original. I mean, through him, I recorded basically a Brazilian ensemble, a
neat.
10 or 20 piece Brazilian ensemble kind of thing, and
With the bones going around.
Yeah.
Capoeira.
all that stuff. Yeah, a cuica. I recorded a cuica recently, which is amazing. A cerdo.
Berimbau? Isn't there a berimbau in that instrument?
There probably is, man. And
Is that the arrow?
Yeah, I think that's the one with the bell box at the bottom and the single string with a bow and arrow.
Oh,
You can play the
that's
bow
what
and
we used to have in
arrow.
capoeira. I did capoeira for 3 months at a school.
I want
Anyway,
to record that. But all right,
cool.
so I've recorded so many crazy eclectic things with Patty. I discovered that an accordion is literally the easiest instrument in the world to record.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't matter what mic you put on it. Just put a mic facing in its general direction, and it will sound amazing.
Amazing.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
As
Okay,
it should.
Yeah, it's just it's a
Right.
fucking accordion. It sounds
Yeah.
like an accordion 5 feet away or 20 feet away. It's great.
It's the same thing.
Hell yeah.
But so yeah, I kind of I'm not very locked down to any genre, which is nice for me, because I think I would get pretty bored if I was having to do oh, here comes another country singer, or here comes another
just
Americana
one
thing.
thing.
Ugh.
I can't stand doing just one thing of anything. I love the variety that happens and keeps it fresh and fun. So there's not any genre I'd turn away.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. We're I like the only really thing that's been different recently is that I kind of have started instituting a little bit of, I'm not going to record it if I can't produce it. Do you know what I mean? And it's been the reason I did that.
I understand that.
Is things can get away. Time can get away from people really quick. And even if I'm not musically going to be producing it, at least I'm going to be helping you achieve exactly what you want to achieve in your budget and on time. And that's like old school producer. You know what I mean?
Right,
So that I've kind of like instituted that. That's really the only, other than that, let's go. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, do you have a frog that can sing? Let's fucking get him on the mic. Like,
let's
I'm
do
ready,
it.
You know?
All right. Well, for all you frog lovers out there that have something to say, this is the place to go.
Get in touch with Kyle at Gasoline Alley Studios, GasolineAlleyTLH.com or Instagram.
Hey, and I want to say thank you guys for having me on. Like, I'm a long time watcher, first time on the podcast.
Our pleasure, man. Our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Dude.
I love this. A lot of times driving back and forth between home, I'm like, oh shit. Ash and Dick have got a new. Okay, fuck yeah!
Oh, great.
Like, I'm gonna.
Right, cool,
so
man.
it's great. I'm so flattered that you guys asked, and it
oh, dude, you've been on.
So
I've
thank you.
I've planned to have you on for a long time, just in the back of my head, and we just finally started doing more guests. Yeah. You know, this year that's our goal is to have on guests a lot more regularly. So you will. There's I have a laundry list of other things we didn't talk about.
I know.
We'll get you back on soon enough, man. We'll talk about plenty more.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
it was great talking to you.
Yeah, you too, dude.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 63 of the MuseCast with Ash and Dick from Cue The Muses with special guest Kyle Aligood. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
No one's funny.